Hey, this is Anna Bevan Gravely, and I am joined by Judge April Wood, who's running for Court of Appeals. Thank you so much for joining us and joining NC Free in this interview time. Is there anything you'd like to share with our members before we get started?
Well, absolutely. So I am Judge April Wood. I am a district court judge in North Carolina, and I am running for seat 4 on the North Carolina Court of Appeals this year. My husband and I live in Lexington, North Carolina. So Lexington is the barbecue capital of North Carolina. And I am very privileged to have been able to serve as a district court judge for the last 18 years. I was first elected in 2002, and I served for the almost 18 years. And as a district court judge, a lot of people don't know what judges do. So as a district court judge, I hear a wide variety of cases. I hear criminal matters and civil matters, contract disputes, property disputes, and a wide variety of other kinds of cases. But the most important cases I hear, the cases that a lot of people lose sight of that have the most impact, are all family law cases. So district court has exclusive jurisdiction over all family law matters. So child custody, child support, divorce, alimony, cases that involve children who have been alleged to be abused or neglected, that involve the Department of Social Services, juvenile delinquency matters, and also termination of parental rights matters. So those cases are the cases that can have the most long-lasting and far-reaching consequences. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running for the North Carolina Court of Appeals, because there are 15 judges on the North Carolina Court of Appeals. And of those 15, only 3 of them have any prior trial court judicial experience, and only 1 has ever been a district court judge. And I just believe that that's a disservice to the state of North Carolina, and that there needs to be on the Court of Appeals judges who have hands-on judicial experience that they can bring with them to the higher courts. And so that's the main reason why I'm running for the North Carolina Court of Appeals. I am an only daughter, or an only child, I guess I should say, and my dad is a retired United States Marine, and even though I've had the opportunity to grow up and travel the world, and I've lived as far west as Okinawa, Japan, and as far east, or as far west as Adak, Alaska, and as far east as Okinawa, Japan, I have always called North Carolina home, because that is where both my parents are from. And so when it was time to retire, we came back home to North Carolina. I opened up a law office in Thomasville, North Carolina, and at that point in time started specializing in family law. And I handled all types of cases: criminal court and civil court, superior court, district court. But the cases that I found where people really were suffering and really needed an advocate was in the family courts. And so that's where I specialize. And that's one of the reasons why I ran for district court judge. And so I'm very passionate about what I do and about being a district court judge. But I believe that North Carolina truly needs judges with experience. And so instead of complaining about there not being any district court judicial experience on the Court of Appeals, I'm trying to do something about that.
Awesome. Thank you. So we'll just dive into the questions. Which one of the current or recent U.S. Supreme Court justices best reflects your judicial philosophy?
So there are several that I truly enjoy watching their career and looking at their opinions, but I believe Justice Alito probably is one of the justices that I would most closely align with as far as his judicial philosophy is concerned.
Awesome. Would you expand on what your exact judicial philosophy would be?
So I would tell you that I am a constitutional conservative, which means that I believe that we are to uphold the Constitution. Judges are to ensure that our constitutional rights are protected. We're to read the Constitution, and we're to apply it as written. I am a conservative in that I believe that judges are supposed to interpret the law and apply the law as it's written, that judges are not legislators. We're not supposed to be activists and legislating from the bench, that if we we don't like the law, then we need to talk to our legislators about changing it. But the job of a judge is to interpret the law and to apply the law as written. And really, at the end of the day, that's how you get fairness and that's how you get justice. Because if you have a judge who is going to treat everybody equally and is going to apply the law exactly as it's written to every single person that comes into the court, then that's how you get true fairness. That's how you get true justice in your judicial system.
Yeah. What would you say the key principles of free enterprise are?
Well, I think that there are several. And of course, one of those would be the freedom to choose our businesses, the freedom to work as you want, the property rights, the competition in a free market. That is, of course, very important to free enterprise. And so I think there's a lot of basic principles, but of course, a lot of it involves around freedom.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. So what kind of jobs, interests, or volunteer work did you take part in when you were in undergrad and then in law school?
So I went to Pensacola Christian College in Pensacola, Florida, and we had Christian service projects. And as I really enjoyed going to nursing homes. And so that was one of my ministries, was volunteering in the nursing homes, going there every weekend and spending time with the people that were there that really just didn't necessarily have a lot of family members, to show them a lot of interest. Like it was sang and read to them and just spent time talking, getting to know them. I also worked with the Awana program, which is, it's a program designed for children to help them learn Bible verses and to learn biblical principles. And so I spent a lot of time doing that in undergrad. And when I went to law school, I spent time, of course, doing volunteer work, but I also worked in the Berg Legal Clinic doing bankruptcy law, which is where I determined I really wasn't sure I enjoyed bankruptcy law. But I did do some work in law offices. And I also worked at a jewelry store and sold jewelry to help pay my way through law school. And then, of course, come back home and I continue the volunteer work. I'm on the Cancer Services of Davidson County Board, Salvation Army of Davidson County Board, the North Carolina Memorial Day Parade Committee, and I've been, spent a lot of volunteer hours in the community.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. What would you say is your greatest accomplishment in your legal career and then in your personal life?
Well, of course, the greatest accomplishment in my legal career is that I was elected as a district court judge in 2002 and every 4 years thereafter. And so, I would say that's probably my greatest accomplishment. And I thoroughly enjoy my job and that position. I take it very seriously. And it's just really been a highlight of my legal career at this point. And then in my personal life, of course, would be my 3 beautiful children. So my husband and I have just 3 beautiful children whom we're very proud of. Our oldest 2 are going to be at Chapel Hill this fall. Our daughter is a senior. Our middle son is a freshman at Chapel Hill. And then, of course, our youngest child, blessing and surprise from the Lord, is starting high school this year.
Wow, that is quite the age range. I'm sure there's a lot of feelings going on this year with going back to school.
There are.
And so this next question is one that I actually really look forward to asking. And so what would you say is the vision that you have for the judicial system? What changes would you advocate for and why?
So, obviously everyone wants a fair judicial system, but we really need a judicial system that is accessible to everybody. And so we live in 2020 and we have so much technology. We're doing this interview by Zoom. And so we're not even in the same city doing this interview. And so there's so many technological advances that have been made, and the judicial system just hasn't caught up. So we really need to bring more technological advances so that people can have access to justice, have access to the courts. So I would certainly advocate for obviously more funding so we can make sure that that happens, but also to educate judges more because, no one really truly enjoys doing the WebEx hearings that we're doing right now during the COVID-19 pandemic. But the reality is we should be able to do it because I've been able to have court from people who are in New York City and people who are in Philadelphia. They're able to come and have, participate in the courtroom and without having to travel, and be able to testify. And so their health and safety, of course, is being maintained, but also we're giving them access to the courts that they wouldn't otherwise have.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time and being able to jump on this Zoom through technology and speak to the membership of NC Free. And before we close out our time, where can our members go to learn more about you?
So I have a website that is www.judgewoodforcoa.com. Of course, COA stands for Court of Appeals. So judgewoodforcoa.com. I have a Facebook page. That's Judge April C. Wood. I'm also on Instagram, and occasionally you might catch me on Twitter. And those would be Judge Wood for COA.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. And I hope you have a great rest of the day and good luck on the campaign trail.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate the opportunity to participate in this interview, and I hope everyone stays safe and healthy.
Awesome.